Good afternoon. This is a regularly scheduled meeting for the Caldwell Hearing Examiner for Wednesday, September 13th, and we are at 1:30 p.m. This is a public hearing, and my name is Sabrina Durkee. I will be your hearing examiner for today. I can hear quasi-judicial decisions concerning particular land use applications for the City of Caldwell. During this public hearing process, public oral testimony was taken from those in attendance and from those who have signed up to speak. This sign-up sheet is at the front of the room. When you testify, you must come to the podium, please speak into the microphone, and state your full name and address. All comments should be addressed to myself and should be relevant to the application. Once the public hearing is open, the staff will present a staff report. Then the applicant or the applicant's representative will be given 10 minutes to speak. After the applicant, we will allow for the public to have 3 minutes to testify. And finally, the applicant or the applicant's representative will then be permitted to have a 5-minute rebuttal period. After this rebuttal is given, the public hearing will be closed and no new oral or written testimony will be allowed unless there's a vote to reopen the public hearing. We request that everyone treats all parties with fairness and respect. Therefore, if you can be quiet and respectful when someone is presenting, we would appreciate it. We are also required by Idaho State Code to take written minutes during our public hearings, so please silence your cell phones throughout the duration of the meeting, and thank you. And with that, I will open our agenda. As far as consent calendar action item, to approve August 23rd hearing examiner minutes. You have those signed? Yep, those have been signed. And as far as the agenda, we have 2 items that have been tabled to the next public hearing of October 25th. This will be action item, case number SUP 23-0000110, and this is for Kahara Apartments. This item has been tabled. And as well, our new business item, action item number 1, case number SUB 22-000028 for Baja Springs subdivision. So if you're here for either of those items, those will be tabled to the next public hearing of October 25th. And with that, we'll pick up some old business. This will be action item number 2, case number SUB 23-000019, SUP 23-00008. This was continued from our last public hearing of August 23rd. This is for Levin Associates Engineering, Inc. On behalf of Sylvester Castanda is requesting approval of a preliminary plat application for 3MS subdivision, as well as a special use permit for 11 fourplex units and 1 duplex units for a total of 46 dwelling units. Okay, Katie, would you like to start with your staff report, please?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Katie Wright, Associate Planner, 621 Cleveland Boulevard. Before you is applications SUB 2319 and SUP 238, 3MS. It is a multi-plex subdivision. The project location is 4.04 acre parcel located northeast of Elgin Street and just east of 11th Avenue. The site has frontage along Elgin Street. The project site is currently surrounded by commercial to the west, residential to the east, manufacturing to the north, and public and industrial to the south. The application before you today is a preliminary plat for a subdivision of 46 dwelling units and an SUP to allow fourplexes in the traditional neighborhood, as well as to allow the buildings along the single-family home property lines to be cohesive with the development and be 35 feet rather than the reduced 25 feet in code. Each residential building will be on its own lot. The internal drive will be a common lot and shall have a public access easement placed over it. The proposed development is consistent with the current zoning of traditional neighborhood. It is surrounded by C3 and C4 to the north, traditional neighborhood to the east and south, and C2 and R3 to the northwest. The proposed development is designated traditional neighborhood in the comp plan, and the proposed density of 11.39 dwelling units is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. The proposed development project has been analyzed for compliance with the city codes and policies, and staff finds the proposed development is in compliance with all parking and landscape requirements. The proposed development is in compliance with all bulk standards for lot size, setbacks, frontage, and height of buildings. The proposed development will have the adequate site access, utilities, and services to serve the site, and the proposed development is in compliance with all other zoning and subdivision ordinances. Public agencies were notified and asked to provide comments. The only agencies that had concerns were Caldwell Irrigation Lateral District in Canyon County. Caldwell Irrigation Lateral District has mentioned the property does not have water rights at this moment, and they need to contact Pioneer Irrigation to obtain these. And then Canyon County has informed the city that the landowner owes taxes for this property that has been that has to be paid before the final plat. And we received no public comments. For site-specific conditions, the applicant shall provide an updated landscaping plan to show the required pathways and landscaping based on Caldwell City Code 10-7-11 prior to being heard by City Council. They have updated this on the updated plat. They just need to reflect that on the landscaping plan. The applicant shall provide proof that water rights have been granted from Pioneer Irrigation District prior to being heard by City Council. The applicant shall provide proper trash enclosure screening according to Caldwell City Code 10-07-10-6, if applicable. Public access easement will be placed over common lot number 4, and the proposed fire hydrant needs to be moved to the north side of Sari Lane to cover a 150-foot requirement. Staff recommends that if this gets approved, the request is subject to conditions as specified in the findings of facts, conclusions of law, and order of decision. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Katie. I think I had a question maybe more geared to Steve. As far as fire access and secondary access, can you show me do they have a secondary access?
So the secondary access, I believe, is going to be on the south, I guess you would say it's like the southeast corner of this development. They're in the very bottom corner of that drawing.
Right here? Okay.
Yes. So that is supposed to be the emergency secondary access, I believe.
Okay.
I can't really speak to this directly because really fire should probably address that directly. Okay. But typically fire would require a secondary access.
Okay.
Unless everything is sprinklered here and unless specific arrangements have been made with fire for that. So.
Okay. It wasn't addressed in the letter. I just was just curious if that is a concern that you might have, or.
It would be something that we would definitely look at. Okay. I think, again, I think fire would probably need to weigh in on that more than engineering. It's not really an engineering requirement. Okay. So.
Well, I'll follow up with the applicant and see if they've had any discussions with the fire. Okay. Thank you, Steve. With that, would the applicant or the applicant's representative like to come up, please, to the podium? Please speak your name and address for the record, please.
Madam Hearing Examiner, Dan Lardy, Levitt & Associates, 1324 First Street South, Nampa, 83651. So here before you, we're here for the special use permit and a subdivision application for 46 units in 12 buildings. Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you to Katie and staff. We appreciate it. They don't get to hear it enough, but thank you. We had some interaction beforehand, and it worked out really well, I think. So we're in agreement with the staff report. Okay, let's see. Here we go. So the site location, again, I won't reiterate all the things that Katie had said, just a generalized location. We do have commercial on the north. To our east is TN also, same as our property. And then to our west is TN also, but it is, there's a residence on that one lot. And there's a school to our south, mobile homes to our east. I borrowed this map from Katie. Thank you. So on this map, again, it's just a zoning map. It does require a special use permit because of the fourplexes that we're requesting. Again, this is the adjacent uses, just kind of a close-up, kind of an aerial, at least an aerial photo that kind of gives it a little color, gives it a little flair, a little easier to look at. And then, so this is our preliminary plat, and you have it in your packet. It's probably a little clearer in your packet. As Steve had mentioned, and you had asked Steve, the emergency access is to the southeast. It was discussed with the fire department during our roundtable, and that was all that was said, and we showed it on our plat, and we're moving forward. I don't remember it being mentioned in the city's or the fire department's letter. I don't think so, but it is there. We will pave it, and it will have some landscape on the east side, and it will be on landscape on the west side also, in between the building and that. This helps a little bit, a little color. It kind of at least gives you an idea of where the access is. It's a little easier to look at than that other side. And then so on lot 7, which is on the southwest, or excuse me, just the west boundary, that's where the residence, there's a single family residence on the west side of that. And that's where we're asking for the height variance for 35 foot instead of the 25 foot allowed next to a single family residence. And this is a little close up of that west boundary, so you can see how close the home is. It doesn't really help a lot, but it at least shows you what's on the adjacent property versus what's proposed on our side. Again, traditional neighborhood, 4 acres, 46 lots, 12 buildings, and similar architectural features and materials is what this slide shows. These are kind of the suggestions, and this is the kind of the goal that the owner would like to hit. With that, thank you. Look forward to your approval, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Dan. I do have a few questions.
Okay.
Can you go back to that one aerial photo that you had of the existing residence that you'll be next to?
Oops. I was, this one.
So this is the house that is on another person's property that you'll be adjacent to?
Madam Examiner, so the tree line there to the west, there's a fence line. So, yes, that fence line. So that's the boundary of our property. So everything on the right of that is ours.
Okay,
The left side.
About this house.
That's correct.
The one house.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you. And how many residences are there currently on your site? Is it just the one house?
I believe that there are 8 residences.
Okay.
Or eight units. I can have the owner speak to that.
Okay.
He knows, I'm sure he knows better than I do, but I believe there's 8 structures on our property.
And they're all occupied right now, rented, correct?
I believe so.
And will you be giving those tenants like adequate time and notice?
I will leave that to the
Okay,
to the
that
owner.
sounds fine. As far as, so you answered my question as far as secondary access. Will there be any sprinkling or anything else, just the 2 access points for fire?
Madam Examiner, so during our roundtable, the construction of the units will dictate whether or not they are or need to be sprinklered. So if they need to be sprinklered, we'll certainly provide sprinkling. But I believe the goal is to not hit that just because of the cost of the maintenance.
Oh, sure. One of the things that Katie had brought up is that, site's gonna be on a common lot as far as the shared driveway, the access points. Who's gonna be maintaining that? Are you gonna have like an HOA or some kind of formal organization to delineate who has to maintain the, driveways,
Madam Examiner,
access
yeah,
points?
that is
Okay.
the case.
Okay.
They'll have HOA agreement or a property owner's agreement
Okay.
if they don't all go to the same owner.
And I was also informed that the fourplexes are going to be sold off individually. Will it be under one HOA management, property manager for the site, since they'll have individual ownership?
Madam Examiner, for consistency, I believe that is the desire
Okay,
in order to make sure that we stay cohesive.
sure,
So you have one point of contact when the city has a question or concern.
sure, okay. Thank you, Dan. I think that's all I have for at the moment. I have the owner, Sylvester, would you like to come up and speak, please? Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I am Sylvester Castaneda. I'm the owner of that piece of property. My address is 119 7th Avenue South, number 2 in Nampa, 83651. Thank for all of you for coming here today. The questions that you were referring to, Dan, I have answers to those. That is correct. There are actually 13 structures in the property. Not all of them are lived in it. Some of them are just like garage storage and garage and storage. The other ones are lived in it. They are all occupied, and they all will be removed.
Okay.
When this project, if approved, all of them will be removed. They are old structures. They are high maintenance. In this property, been asking for years, been screaming for help. And I think it's a good property, a good development that will improve the neighborhood and will improve this area. I definitely feel this is long overdue. And I think what we have in mind and what we are proposing here to you today is the idea that everybody will win on it. We are thinking of placing a fence around the perimeter. In that exit they were talking about, I was talking to the round table, and we're willing to do it. About irrigation, I have irrigation rights from Pioneer, which I pump from their canal, and that property is irrigated right now with underground sprinklers. Obviously, that system will change because the system that is in there is old, inefficient, and it just needs to be upgraded. I am for this proposal and for this development. I think it will be good for everyone, and I don't see a problem. It's something I think it will be desirable for people to live in, for individuals to raise families, and I am all for approval. I am here for questioning.
Yes, thank you. Will you give the existing tenants enough notice, what, this is approved when construction starts?
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely. That is something that I've been a landlord for just the last 20 years, and I have seen some other developments. Besides, there is a state law between tenants and landlords, which I know that one well. We know everything takes time, and this process is taking time. In fact, it has taken us a long time to even get to this point. So it's going to take us sometimes from here to the time when building permits need to be pulled. Definitely, the tenants will have at least 3 months' notices to find another places. I understand, and I am a resident of Caldwell, even though I live in Nampa, but I live in this area for the last 40 years. And it's not easy to find a rental house nowadays in just a matter, in a short time of 30 days. The persons need actually more than that. I understand those. I am all for it, yes.
That's great to hear. Thank you. I don't think I have any other questions, except now that this brings a question, Pioneer said he had no water rights, but it sounds like he's
That is,
water. What's the conflict there?
this property has no water rights from the Caldwell system. Because 23 years ago, whoever owned that property at that time, they did not want to pay for the water, for the irrigation water, so they signed up a letter and they gave up the rights to the irrigation on that one, and
Okay.
these lines were blocked and sealed in it. But I pay every year to Pioneer, and I get water there, so I get billed every year, and every year I paid on it. I have water there, and I have contacted them, and we just have to design a private irrigation system, like the one we have right now, which is inefficient, but a more modern or upgraded system will provide pressure water to every single lot. Right now, it provides water to the entire property, but the system is a common system. It will just not work in a new development. It has to be changed, and we will change it.
Okay. I don't think you allow private systems, correct? It's gonna have to be over to the city.
Sorry about that. That would depend on the development. By city code, no, they have to have a CMID compliant system
Okay.
to be installed and dedicated to the city and owned and operated by CMID, Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District. In this case, it sounds like there is a surface water right from Pioneer Irrigation
Okay.
District, depending on what those water rights are and the amount of flows that they can obtain from Pioneer Irrigation will depict whether or not the pump station is to be privately owned or owned by the city at that point.
Okay.
But that's typically done through the review process.
All right. Great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Looks like I have one person that signed up as neutral. Robert Coates, or? Hi, Robert.
Hi, thank you for your time, Madam Chairman. My name is Robert Pilot, and my company address is 1102 Arthur in Caldwell. And just for convenience, if staff could pull up the aerial, that would be super. So I own the property addressed to the north as 710 North 11th, 716th North 11th, and 712 North 11th.
Where it says manufacturing and production.
Correct.
Okay.
And then additionally, we own the property between this applicant's ground and the freeway, known as Freeport Avenue, I think, or 14th, I can't remember what it is, but it's the bare ground on the hill above them. And I signed up neutral because I thought it was important to state on the record that there is existing manufacturing adjacent to this property, and with that comes noise, dust, smells, odd hours, and if we're going to be putting that kind of density on that property adjacent to it, I think it's important that they know what they're getting into. Additionally, I guess just in reference to the applicant, I would like to know if this is a project that they intend to just take to paper plat and then take to market, or if they ultimately are going to go with vertical construction on their own and retain ownership. I think that's really it. I just want to make sure that as we are dealing with multifamily on that property, they know what they're getting into. So.
Robert, can you
Thank you.
tell me a little bit about what manufacturing, what your hours are?
Well, they
Noise.
run a swing shift there, and it's real seasonal. I'm the landlord, and the tenant coats seed on the property. So they have large dust houses with high-speed fans, a lot of lime, some truck traffic. I mean, it's manufacturing, and so I just want to make sure that they know, because when this is all said and done, you know, if there's an issue about noise or dust or smells, that they know that we were there. So
Absolutely.
I'll stand for any other questions.
And then what are the hours of the manufacturing? Is it 24 hours?
Well, it's seasonal, so I think they run a swing shift. So I think it's during the peak time is 16 to 18 hours a day,
Okay.
for sure. So
Okay,
I can't speak for the tenant on that, but just from my experience. So, okay?
thank you.
Thank
So
you.
much.
Uh-huh.
I don't have anyone else that has, signed up to speak. Did you
I'm
have
sorry, if
one?
I could maybe get an answer to my question about the paper plot, that would be great.
Yes, I
Thank
will,
you.
when they come up for the rebuttal, I will ask your questions. If there's no one else that has, signed up that would like to speak on this application, you can come up now. Otherwise, the, applicant or applicant's representative can come back up for their rebuttal.
Yes, we know, everybody knows, and we are aware of his business, and we appreciate his business and his concerns.
Okay.
Yes, there is, regular noise, and they just do what they are good at, and they do what they do. Everybody in this neighborhood, in this area knows it, and they will need to be notified, and that's why we'll have some HOAs, rules, and, there is no problem with us, with them there. They, in fact, I think they were there before us.
Okay.
If I am correct, they are there before us, and he's correct. We had addressed those, issues, and we are willing to live with those,
Have you-
because he's there.
Okay. Have you thought about, additional landscaping or something just to kind of buffer the noise and sound?
We are thinking about the landscaping, about doing something where, their area can be better than what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
We had lived with that one, and I think he agrees that our property needs to be improved, and we were willing to improve. And yes, and we know him, and we know his industry, and we're neighbors.
Sure.
We have to live together.
So, Robert, the other question he had is, are you planning on building these fourplexes yourself, or is this something that you're gonna be selling?
That is kind of a question right at this moment. I have, put in my hands in my pockets many times, and I find a bunch of holes. I don't know if I am going to be able to find a developer or banks or someone who will finance it, and I will keep it and manage it myself, as I have done it before. Or if I have to get partnerships, or I have to do something. Money is money, and money is what I don't have. And I don't have enough to say, I can just lay it out and write a check at this moment. I am looking for financing, and I'm looking for someone who wants to come along. At this point, in the future, I don't know if I will be able to keep the entire project under my pocket, or I will just have to share it with somebody else.
So if you do sell it to someone else, you'll make them fully aware of the
Absolutely, I will make sure that that stays in the HOAs, and they know his, and yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
answering my questions. I think that's all I have at the moment.
Thank you.
Katie, is there any additions that you want to add to that? As far, I mean, they are in a neighborhood zoning. And even though, is there any, protocol in the code being up adjacent to the industrial?
Madam Hearing Examiner, there is the differing land use buffer requirement, but they have addressed that. And they do show on the northern portion of their landscape plan a pretty big chunk, that they're showing for that separation.
Okay,
So, did that answer your question?
it did, yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. So, based upon the testimony, information received, and record of evidence presented, I will make a recommendation to City Council for approval of the request for the preliminary plat and a special use permit to allow the fourplexes in a T-in zone along Lot 7 being 35 feet rather than 25 feet along a single-family home, subject to the conditions listed. And then I will close this public hearing. Thank you.
Madam Hearing Examiner, I want to just clarify that it was approval for the SUP, not just recommendation.
Oh, okay. That's what my task force said. So I will approve the application. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, great. Now, let me hand this over so I don't sneak it out with me. Okay, we're going to take a look at another new business item. This is action item number 2. This is case number SUP 23-0000011, El Patron LLC on behalf of Clearwater Caldwell LLC, requesting a special use permit for a dance hall nightclub use to allow ticketed concerts and events within the existing El Patron Event Center. Morgan, would you like to start with your presentation? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Morgan Besaw, Planning and Zoning. The application in front of you is a special use permit for the El Patron Event Center. The site is located in the shopping center south of the intersection between Cleveland Boulevard and Ustick Road. You can see there's a variety of uses in this area. The site is highlighted in red. To the east, there are some light industrial uses, vehicle storage, there's a Walmart directly west, some residential further west, and then up north at the intersection, several more commercial uses. The applicant is requesting a special use permit for a dance hall nightclub use. This is specifically for ticketed events such as concerts. They're requesting an occupancy of up to 600 people. No changes to the existing site or structure are proposed. The zoning of the subject parcel is commercial service. All the surrounding parcels are also zoned for commercial and service. The yellow in the southeast corner is for R2, is zoned R2, medium density residential. The comprehensive plan also has this area designated for commercial service. The yellow areas highlighted are both R2. So even though the slide previous where I showed you, there's another commercial parcel in pink, this yellow slide will show you that that one actually will develop as medium density residential moving forward. So that will be the closest residential parcel to the site. It's approximately 150 feet away. There is a vacant commercial parcel between those two parcels, and that residential housing has not been developed yet. So any housing that will be developed would be after this use would hypothetically already be in place. So the city code defines a dance hall or nightclub use as an establishment where people regularly congregate primarily for entertainment purposes in the form of dancing or live or recorded music, and where a cover charge entry fee is typically required. The establishment may have one or more temporary or permanent areas set aside for the purpose of dancing by the patrons of the establishment. Alcoholic beverages may be served, provided the appropriate liquor or alcohol licenses have been obtained. So the real difference between this and the site as it is, so as I mentioned, it's an existing event center. The real difference in our code between event center and dance hall nightclub is that for an event center, you rent the entire facility to one person for a single fee, whereas a dance hall nightclub would be you have individual cover charges or tickets for individuals coming to the site. So rather than renting it out, or you could have both, right, where you rent the whole facility to someone, they hold a concert, and then they rent out individual, well, not rent out, but give out individual tickets. So that's the real difference, and that's the reason they're here for a special use permit. Even though they are directly permitted to be an event center, they would like to start having individual event or different events with cover charges. So the event center has a permitted occupancy currently of 406 people, because it is forecast that with an event center you would have tables and chairs, events such as family reunions, birthdays, etc. If the chairs are removed, there is sufficient capacity to accommodate the requested occupancy of 600 people. That has been verified by the fire department. The applicant recently underwent tenant improvements within the event center to expand the interior and to construct a stage. However, the stage has not received a final inspection yet from the building department. The applicant should pass a final inspection of the stage prior to hosting concerts or other events where the stage would be used, as is recommended in the draft findings of fact. So, per code, dance halls require either between 1/2 to 1 parking spaces per 100 square feet of building space. Their structure is 12 1,000 square feet and therefore requires 62 to 124 parking spaces. The site has 70 parking spaces, therefore it is compliant with code for the use that they are requesting. However, because they have an occupancy request of 600 persons, 70 parking spaces does not seem quite sufficient to accommodate that occupancy. However, the site is surrounded by several other commercial buildings which have ample parking on site. The commercial parcel immediately to the north of them is under the same ownership as their parcel, and they also have 70 spaces, so that's roughly 140 if they had an agreement to use all of the property owner's parking. It seems likely that many of these uses will have different hours of operation than the dance hall nightclub, which the applicant has stated will primarily operate on evenings and on the weekends, roughly 4 days a month. So it's not going to be an every night sort of dance hall or nightclub. It's going to be event specific. However, no shared parking agreements have been provided, either for the property to the north or for Walmart to the west, which has several hundred parking spaces. This was just to give you another look at the site in relation to those other commercial uses and the parking in the vicinity. So the only agency comments that we received after sending out notifications were from fire, and their comments did verify the occupancy both for the event center at 406 and for the dance hall nightclub being able to meet the 600. They also stated that there are no existing code violations on site. We received one letter from the public, and that was from the property owner, because this building is currently leased, and the property owner submitted a letter of support for the application and stated that the applicant has been a longtime stable tenant of the building, and they would like to have this use for them. So the site-specific conditions or concerns that were included in your draft findings of fact were to limit the capacity not to exceed an occupancy of 600 individuals as requested by the applicant and not less than 406 as permitted for the event center. The findings of fact state 600, but staff would like to hear from the applicant to see if they have had any further conversations with adjoining properties to better gauge whether 406 or 600, what is the most accurate occupancy. The draft findings also require a final inspection of the stage prior to use. There is an existing building permit for that. And then also a monthly calendar of events planned, required per Idaho for their alcohol license. Have it up there. And each of these calendars must be submitted to the city, to the clerk's department, and state the event, date, time, type of event, and approximate attendance. Within that, staff recommends that if you choose to approve the request, that it be subject to the draft findings of fact. There is an exterior image of the site.
Thank you, Morgan. I don't have any questions for you at the moment. I probably will in a little bit, but if the applicant or the applicant's representative would like to come up, yes, please come up and state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my full name is Antonio Chavez, and the address of the place is 5214 Cleveland Boulevard, Suite C. Regarding El Patron Event Center, you already heard pretty much everything, so I don't have much to say. All I want to say is I'd like you to consider about the parking spaces, you know.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the place, the legal capacity is more than what we have in there. I didn't say we're gonna get more than that because we never get it. This is why I kind of write it. We write it down 600 because it's what we most get all the time. Previous we start with all these issues, and we have about the spaces. You know, the owner. I've been in there. I don't have on top of my head right now how many years, but it's been a long time. And that building, it's on the same property as the other one, so we have about 140, about 140, a little over spaces for parking space. On the south side, that's an acre. It's an acre it's owned by the owner as well. I just mentioned this because it's something that you might consider, you know. And before I came here, I talked to him over the phone. He goes, well, Tony, if that helps, let him know I got an acre that is just gravel on it, but you allowed to use that in case. I just mentioned this because that might help. But I'd like you to consider the times that I'm pretending to use this for that type of purposes is once to twice a month, and it's only 9 p.m. to 1 p.m., which is 4 hours. About 4 or 5 hours. That's it. And I don't know what else you want to know from me. I'm so nervous.
Oh.
That's my first time I've been in this situation. I like you consider too. I like to know immediately your decision. I love to know that because they closed me up since April and April the 20th, somewhere in there, they didn't allow me to do anything. At this point, I'm been listening every single thing. I'm been follow every single step that I have to. But so far, it's almost 5 months without making a penny out of that place. And to support that place, believe me, it's a big, heavy stuff that I have on my shoulders. And I have an opportunity right now to do something on the 22nd and to make something to survive and to continue with this business, By having my business open, I have some more business in that property too, different than that. And I support about 16 families. So I pay a lot of taxes to the state. I pay quite a few families depending on my business, and 6 more families depending of that place too. So it's something that I just want to let you know. That way you help us to continue and go with this because it's been a long time without making a penny out of it, And I don't know what else to say. Like I said, I'm so nervous but anyways,
Okay. Well, first of all, don't be nervous. I won't bite you. But I kind of want to backtrack a little bit. So what happened on April 20th? Did they have a code enforcement issue that triggered this application? Is that what kind of happened?
Well, it was and the issue there was it was some exit signs. There was exit sign lights that are supposed to fix it.
Okay.
And they told me that, but then they called me and then we have a hearing over here at the fire department, and they give me a big list of the many issues that I got on the place. I goes, well, I don't know that I was open before previous that. The place that was open, it was operating fine, but they told me I had to have a special use permit for, because when I apply for all-purpose event center, which is but that's me. To me, I didn't see any difference. I say, and it's registered by All-Purpose Arena. It's registered at the state with El Patron Event Center, All-Purpose Arena. So we have a kitchen there. We serve food, blah blah blah. So all-purpose to me, it's all-purpose, to me. But Debbie and everyone else, they told me no, there's something total different having people out there by concert ways or whatever, So that was something totally different.
Okay.
So and they told me I had to send some letters to neighbors around it, about 150 feet around it. So I sent some letters around it, see if anyone has complaints, and all I received was calls, which is I report that. I received calls and just one person showed up and they said, no problem, just go for it because nobody lives around there, so close. And I followed that, and then we paid the fee. We did everything, so I don't know.
Okay.
Let
me ask Morgan real quick.
Yeah.
So Morgan,
Yes.
did they have a code enforcement issue, or what was the?
So there was no code enforcement case opened regarding this being a dance hall nightclub. There was I'm actually not sure who it was. Someone did notice that this had ticketed events versus just renting the full facility.
Okay.
So I don't know that if that was ever made clear to the applicant, the difference between the different types of event centers.
Right.
So it was brought to staff. Staff did read the code, looked at it, decided that they were actually two different uses, requested that they did a special use permit, and then they have complied with that since. So the meeting that he was talking about would have been the neighborhood meeting that's required.
Okay.
At this time, when we realized that these needed to be classified as two separate uses, fire did go out, check, did their inspections. There were some items to be fixed. By the time the application came in and I distributed it, everything had been resolved. The applicant had made all the necessary changes
Okay.
that were really rather minor.
Okay, thank you.
So either or, whatever it is, I'm 5 months without making a penny out of it.
Sure.
And now I have the opportunity to make a penny on the 22nd, which is a couple weeks away from now.
Sure.
And believe me, I want to make some money,
Sure, I know, I understand, Antonio.
you know?
So before the 20th, you were holding a whole event there, ticketed events, or you were
Well, it was most of
renting
it,
places?
there was most of it, quinceañeras, weddings and all that.
Okay,
But, Debbie, I don't want to talk bad about her because I love her, but she listened she listened to my competition a lot.
okay,
She told me verbally, she told me I got someone, and she told me that on the meeting, someone brings pictures of whatever, of few different things, and they say, what is she called, anonymous person. I don't think that's, I mean, whatever, that sounds to me like, if it's nothing real, nothing approved, I mean, it's not, I don't know, but at this point, I wanna see everything like part of the past.
right.
And I want to look forward
Yeah.
and do things right,
Mhm.
feed the families that are depending of my work. And, because like I said, like I repeat to you, I have few people that work for me. They make money to support their families and everything depending of that place open.
So backtracking, events that you had previous to the 20th, you had, what would you say, the most
But I do
biggest
have-
number
yes.
of customers or people attending was around 400? What was the max you think you've had at the?
Never had more than like 300-400, never had more.
Okay,
Because we have there in town, there's a couple more places, we competing and this area is not that big. We're not gonna have a big community to have 1,000 people or 500 people per place, you know?
right.
So this is what I'm guessing, you know, I'm guessing 600, probably around that number. This is what I'm guessing for concerts, if it's,
So Antonio, have you ever had parking issues, or people have the
not at all.
patrons been
No.
parking over at Walmart or where?
No, not at all, because like I say, we have, in our events, we have, our security group. We're making sure they use all the parking spaces in the back, and they've been using the space right on the south side, which is an acre, and they do park, on the Walmart sometimes, but at the time people park out there, Walmart, it's, the whole parking lot is along.
Okay.
It's not, so we never had any issues, and I never had calls from the Walmart or from someone else,
So,
you know?
Antonio, can you show me where that extra dirt parking lot is at?
Yeah,
So is it,
right there on the very bottom part.
and
Yeah.
is that owned by Rennie Wiley?
Yeah, Rennie Wiley.
W Construction LLC? Okay.
Yes, and on the other building too, I had 3 spaces there. I have Suite A, Suite B, and Suite C.
Okay.
You know, I own it because I have an ice cream place, and I have the right to use all the spaces if I wanted to.
Okay. One of the recommendations was maybe having a shared parking agreement. Steve or Morgan, do we have like a template, something really easy for him to reference if we decide to add that condition? So that he has something that he can get, Mr. Wiley to sign, saying that he has additional parking? Okay. So Morgan, let's add that as a condition of approval.
Yes, we can find a template for a shared parking
Okay.
agreement and get it to the applicant.
Okay. Sounds good.
Because even the city, I don't wanna, I'm sorry to say that, but I don't wanna bug anyone or friend anyone in here, but, even the city, when you guys do something at the O'Connell Field House or whatever, they park across the street, they park in Albertsons, they park in Napa, they park everywhere, you know? But obviously, it's thousands and thousands of people there, you know? At my place, it's a small place, you know? I mean, with, if worse come to worse, obviously, I don't wanna, you know, they park in Walmart, but they park in, after around 10 to midnight, which is hour and a half, 2 hours. And at this point, we never have a call from Walmart or from anyone, you know? Even sometimes the officers, the police officers, they always drive around and they can tell you even if everything has been quiet.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
At this point, till right now.
Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, and I don't think I have any more questions. Do you have
Thank
anything
you.
else you want to share with me?
Well, I like to share my situation anyways, but I don't want to make you cry. Yeah, so I just want to say, do whatever you can to let me go as soon as possible
Okay.
because,
You want to host an event on the 22nd?
yes,
And if this is approved today, will he be allowed to reopen by then? Is there an appeal period that we have to wait?
I don't believe we have to wait.
Okay.
They have held off on their advertising of that event
Okay.
until today, and I believe that I could have these findings ready for you to sign today as well.
Okay, sounds great.
Go for
Okay,
it.
Antonio. If you could have a seat, I'll see if there's anyone else in the, that would like to testify that's here, and then I'll let you come up for a short rebuttal. Does that sound good?
that sounds really good.
Okay, all right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks
you,
everyone
Antonio.
here. Thanks everyone. And thanks for the patience.
Yes.
Thank you.
yes. Okay, besides Antonio, I don't have anyone else that signed up to speak. Is there anyone here that would like to testify on the application? Okay. I don't have any further questions. I would like to see a condition for the shared driveway. That way, if there's anyone has any issues or complaints, then Antonio is covered. But if you could help him with a template to make it easier, that would be great. And with that, are you good, Antonio? You don't have anything else to say? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I will close the public hearing, and based upon the testimony, information received, and record of evidence presented, I will make a motion to approve the request for a special use permit for a dance hall and nightclub use within the existing El Patron Event Center with the conditions, and that last one I just added, that's in the staff report. Okay? Thank you. I will close our public hearing. It is 2:22 p.m. And thank you.